Yo, what's up? My name's RetroPat, and this might shock a few of you guys today, but we will be playing Dungeon Defenders today. I know, very surprising how out of the norm for you, RetroPat. Of course, I know. You just gotta shake it up sometimes and do something different. But of course, we're gonna start things off by actually editing my crystal. It's been a while. I think it's good to shake things up. I'm sure I've earned some new ones over time. You just earn them sort of via achievements and playing the game. So I'm curious to see what new ones I might have access to. And then, like, this is totally new to me. What the I mean, that's amazing. So we're gonna keep that in our mind and look through it, but it's so cool. I feel like this is just a piece of the game that you kind of forget about. Like these, I've all seen before. But there's so many cool crystals. There's so many cool different coloring options. This is one of those things where if you're getting a little, not that I feel stale of the game or anything like that, but if you are feeling stale of the game or want to shake things up a little bit, go check out your crystal editor. See what's different. See what's new. Maybe change it up. I bet you there's at least one crystal you haven't used before. Dude, this is new and weird. Not really my vibe, but I'm glad it exists. It's interesting that it's like, it has like the bone part of the skull, but then like everything else almost looks like, I haven't seen it, but I guess like Tron-E would be the way that I describe it. The money one I have used, this is kind of a cool one. There's like the pot of gold is a classic. This is new, I believe. At least I haven't personally seen it. Organic goblet. That's what I was using previously. I think the colors might have reset though, so that's mostly everything. Do I really want to rock the trick or treat? I mean, I love the look of it. I feel like I should rock this for a little bit at some point. The goal is to one day use at least all of them for a little bit and move on from there step by step and just get a little bit of each experience. I believe I've used this one in the past. I really like the simple ones that are like full. They're simple, but they have details. Like this book has like all the like the hinges and the lock. Like they could have just done a simple book. The crystal in the middle of it, the gem. Like they could have made this a lot more simple of a book, but they kind of added some extra details, and I like that. So I think the pot of gold and the book are my personal favorites. You know what? I think I am going to rock with this one, at least just for a little bit. This is definitely a temporary kind of crystal. I wouldn't have this long term, but it's what I'm going to be rocking with today. And today, I want to do something personal. I guess not even personal, not even just personal achievement based, but it is actually, I think there's a Steam achievement for it. I want to work towards the pure strategist stuff. I changed the coloring a fair bit. Here's what the crystal looks like in game. It's honestly less like detailed, I want to say. I feel like in the preview screen it looks a bit nicer. Maybe it's my graphic settings as well. I'm not sure. I think I have turned them down as of recently just to make the game run a bit smoother where possible. The shadings, you can just jump straight through the crystal, which obviously makes sense. The top part, that's honestly nice. You don't have to deal with that collision. That would be more annoying than actually like I like that decision. Be able to just float through it versus getting stuck on it would be such a pain. There are absolutely certain maps where the strategy, at least for me, was to like sit on top of the crystal and look over the map itself. Recently on a video I talked about where I did pure strategy for the first time and I tested pure strategy. I got a comment from a seeming, I don't know if it's a dev or at least a staff member. I'm aware of Thales. I know the name in the DD community, but he did go ahead and talk about like potential next patches for pure strategy. So I just wanted to kind of spread that information here. He said that pure strategy used to be towers only, but the loot was awful because there was no hardcore multiplier since you could always respawn if you died. We tried reworking. That's where you kind of get the dev talk is we tried. I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy that someone who might work in the game commented in the video. We tried reworking into more DU per tower, defensive units, and then the extra Sharkins / Jin / copter odors. I always call them goblin copters or whatever, but that makes a lot more sense. On a small map like Deeper Well, you don't really notice the difference of DU. I did think that was I loved that element of pure strategy, but for me personally, there wasn't really enough of a uniqueness to keep playing the game mode, which is why I'm kind of switching over to a different goal today. But he says, for the next patch, pure strategy will drop only armor. All hero ability boosts, like tower boost from the monk, will only be 25% as effective, and Jins will not desummon place towers, since there's a big wave of them on the mode. I'm excited to try to learn that mode more. I do like the idea. I think one of the biggest, quote unquote downsides of Dungeon Defenders, even though it's still fun a lot of the time, you could argue it, right? I don't mind it, but you could argue this, and maybe it's a good shake up, is that you use the same towers over and over and over again, right? Load up a map, put up strength drain auras, put up ensnare auras, put down lightning towers, some DSTs, boom, you're done, right? You could just do that for a lot of maps. So I'll be doing today, actually, right? I'll be doing today for I'm going to be going for the Mastermind achievement today, which is getting the Master Strategist Award on all missions. The problem is I keep forgetting what missions I've done this for. I don't think I was planning to do it while playing Pure Strategy, but I realized Pure Strategy is a 25 wave thing, so it didn't work out like that. you actually have to beat the storylines. So it's going to be a whole different thing, but I'm getting a little distracted where essentially it seems like they are still working to figure out how they want pure strategy to work. And I do love the idea of pure strategy adjusting your defensive units. Like basically the more times you place the same tower in pure strategy. So if I placed like 2 lightning towers, anything past the first 2 is going to cost more than the, is it 7 defense units. So it's going to cost more and more defense units the more you build, which that's a really cool way to encourage variety of build and encouraging players to actually strategize and come up with some really unique builds as opposed to just spamming lightning towers, DSTs, and strength train auras. So I do love the idea behind it, and maybe we'll get to that more in the future, but for now, I'm just going to jump into, personally, the deeper well. I think on insane hardcore, the reason why is I want the minions to come at me fast enough so I can get through the waves quicker / the map quicker. I need to, the biggest thing here is making sure I don't switch to, it's pretty easy for me to not do damage as my character, mostly easy. I need to not get out a DPS character. That's what I'm actually the most scared of, hilariously. Can I just place a DST and protect this fully? I don't know if I can. Can't really zoom out quite as much as I wish I could. You also might actually, I'm not totally sure. It's only 6 minions coming in. This should be good. I'm just gonna blast into this. You might actually be able to damage minions on the first wave. That might be a rule / a thing. Look at these guys. What is it? They're getting fucking absolutely sniped. You might be able to actually damage them on the first waves, but I am not 100% sure. I'd rather just not take that risk. But the pure strategist achievement, getting the mastermind achievement, is master strategist. You have to defeat the waves or defeat like the maps or whatever. I think it's from Deeper Well all the way to Glitter Helm. So we have the whole storyline to do. You have to do this while not doing any damage with your characters, with your pets, your DPS pets, etc. It has to all be damage with towers. This should actually be a cakewalk achievement. I think, if anything, more of this is going to come down to the time sink and just me playing through all the maps. But it might give me a decent opportunity to just ramble and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and set up some lightning towers, I think. I don't want to overthink this. I do need to swap over more mana on my monk or whatever. I don't want to overthink this because, once again, like the biggest problem here is just going to be speed. So if I'm worried about speed first and foremost, I'm sure I'll switch back to my mage. Like I'm only getting 600. The rewards are going to be really bad for this. This is a personal goal and personal achievement. Like I have 600 XP gained. That is terrible from this. Like this is definitely just going to be a personal fulfillment thing. And I love achievement hunting. I love achievement. I always say the older I get, the more I love achievement hunting. Growing up, I really did not care for it. Growing up, all I wanted to do was just like queue back up for more like Call of Duty multiplayer and like grind ranks on multiplayer and play things online. I did not understand the appeal of gaining achievements on a single player game. And the older I've gotten, the more I think I do understand that, and the more I want to do that, and the more I just want to play in my own little world and do my own little thing. And it's funny because Dungeon Defenders absolutely can be a multiplayer game, but if you watch my series episode, you know that I play it like 1000% single player. And I would love to actually, I've talked about it forever. One day I will do it, okay? I promise, but it's going to take a while. I'll be honest. I'm a bit stubborn / delayed on certain things. I have a lot on my plate, a lot of more things to do, and always, another day to take care of things. But I do want to stream Dungeon Defenders and play with my viewers at some point. I think that would be a lot of fun. One day that'll happen, because that sounds like the most fun way to jump into multiplayer for me personally. There we go. There's wave 4 out of 5 complete, so we're almost already done here. This should be a decent speed run once again. I'm curious to see if the other maps will actually get difficult. Things like the Summit, things like Glitterhelm Caverns. I know that I've beaten. I actually am kind of wondering if I'll just have to beat the Summit and then I'll be done. I have done Glitterhelm Caverns so many times. That was a map that I grinded over and over and over again on Nightmare difficulty. Part of me is wondering, like, surely there was one run where I didn't do damage with my character. Like, surely out of the hundreds of runs that I've done on that map, on, like, Insane and Nightmare difficulty to level up, there must have been, hopefully, at least one run where I didn't DPS with my character, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so we'll have to see on that one for sure. But this should be Deeper Well complete. The thing to watch out for is in the bottom right-hand corner, we're looking for that Master Strategist little award. That's the most important thing as I do these, and these should be kind of quick to blast through these levels like this. So we see a knight, we see invincible, we see immortal. Show me flawless victory, sure. Matter it is, master strategist. Okay, so we have officially achieved this for Deeper Well. Next up is Foundries and Forges, and I'm gonna have to remember the maps that I've done for this. I might even actually go write them down on my like goals notepad document, because if I don't remember these, it's gonna be a problem. If I don't remember, I feel like I've played these recently for something, and now it's kind of freaking me out. Did I already do this? I really don't think I already did this, right? Surely I didn't already do this. I'm trying to think, what did I play these maps for recently? I think you know what it is? I think recently I played these maps to get the achievement. Is it Daredevil? I'm pretty sure I got that achievement, right? Hopefully I completed that one. Pretty sure I did. Yes, we did. Okay. That's what okay. I was a little nervous for a sec. That's what happened. I was playing these maps recently to get that achievement. So we should be totally good. Let me go. It costs 120 to build a lightning tower. I think I can just build a lightning tower and build a strength drain aura at the start here, and we should be good. Like, honestly, with literally just this build, we should be good to, like, probably beat the entire map, if I'm being totally honest. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to my mage. I probably could just leave this like this the whole game and just be good. There's the first wave complete. I'm gonna use whatever mana I have to hopefully build a DST looking out to each direction, should speed things up a bit. Or the ogre has spawned. I didn't quite get. Okay, I was about to say I might not be able to get sights on it before it's defeated, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Didn't want to show you guys through every single wave. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. It's pretty chill. Everything's being defeated by just 3 DSTs, 1 Strength Drain Aura, and 1 Lightning Tower is enough to absolutely obliterate everything. We're just here working towards that juicy achievement. And here it is, the wave complete. Bottom right-hand corner is the most important part of this, looking for that Master Strategist achievement. I'm going to be checking it every time just to double check, just to make sure. It'd be a nightmare scenario. I think I alt-tabbed in. The biggest way I could lose the achievement is by accidentally left-clicking or right-clicking when like alt-tabbing. There it is, Master Strategist. Okay, so it was achieved on Foundries and Foundries and Forges. If there's an easy way to see what achievements have been gotten on what maps, I would actually love to know. I'm gonna go check the tavern really quick. I don't think there is really a way to know that. Like specific achievements on specific maps, I don't think you can tell. I could be wrong, but let's go over to like Founders. There's no like information. There's no extra little tidbits I can click on. I understand that's such a. I don't know if that's information that needs to be displayed. Like I'm gonna be so honest that it might just be like something you should track a little bit yourself if you're going for an achievement like this. That makes a lot of sense. It's a little stressful going for an achievement like this and worrying about losing track of things, but at the end of the day, I understand it. All right, let's go ahead and go through. Magus Quarters is up next. I feel like it's, where would you even display that? How would you display it? I feel like there's so many little awards that are given on each map. I don't really think it's practical to display it. So I understand. I'm not trying to complain about that. All right, Magus Quarters. For those who don't know, probably just still my favorite map in Dungeon Defenders. One of my, like, it's really high up there for me. It's just super nostalgic. This is like the first map. I fell in love. Also, just, I don't know, the visuals of this map are super beautiful. I fell in love with playing survival on this map. This was the map that I played so much, like couch co-op, Xbox, split screen, like so many of us. It's crazy how many people found this game through Xbox, the Xbox Arcade. And it's something that is kind of under talked about, I would argue, to this day, where like the Xbox 360, that like marketplace in that shop brought so many people into like indie games and smaller games in general. I feel like prior to that, to play indie games, to play smaller games, you'd have to specifically play them on PC and find out about like indie or like niche or PC games via like gaming forums and like whatever gaming threads you could find back in the day, right? Whereas nowadays, you could just go to a marketplace. They're much more talked about. They're much more respected. It's always one of my arguments when I say people love to argue, and I'm not trying to say you can't hold this opinion. I disagree with it firmly and respectfully. People always say that games are getting worse. Video games are getting worse. I don't know if I do know. I personally vehemently disagree with this statement. I think video games have never been better. I think more people have access to the tools to make games, and there's more games being made than ever, right? So what happens is, I would personally argue, is that there are more games, please don't fall in lava, there are more games being made than ever. So there are better games than ever coming out. However, there's also a lot of bad games coming out, right? When you only have like 100 video games being made per year, you kind of only, it feels like there's less garbage coming out because there is less garbage coming out. But I'm curious to see like percentages. I don't know. The problem is obviously whether a game is good or not is so subjective. There are some things you can judge objectively, but I wish there was a better way we could view objective measurements and calculate, oh, do you know, total games released in a year, and seeing something. If I would guess that the percentages are pretty similar. I would guess if there was in some theoretical world, in some fantasy land where we could just judge, oh yeah, these are the good games, these are the bad games, I would bet you back in like the 1990s or early 2000s, let's say, 80% of games were considered, what's the percentage actually? Maybe like, it so depends what your perspective of good is as well. Maybe like 40% of games are good, 60% are not great. I don't know. It's so hard. I feel like there are, maybe I'm too naively optimistic or positive brained. I would argue like 80% of games are good and 20% are not great. Where like, now 80% of games aren't amazing. The realistic breakdown is probably that 20% of games are amazing, 80% of games are good, and then 20% are bad. That's the general breakdown to most things, to be fair. So if we're assuming that sort of breakdown, I would bet you that the percentage breakdown hasn't changed. We just see more bad games being released than ever in terms of quantity, right? If we go from 100 games being made per year, which obviously isn't the exact number, I'm just throwing out a random number. If we go from 100 games, let's say, being made per year, to all of a sudden, now there is 1,000 games being made per year, right? If, let's say, for example, 80% of those games are good and 20% is bad, right? If you have 20% of the games bad with 100 games being released, it's only 20 games, right? But if you're putting out 1,000 games per year and 20% are bad, well, now that's 200 games. So I think it's really, really easy to feel like, oh shit, games are getting worse because we're seeing more bad games. And I understand where that sentiment comes from, but I would argue like per capita, if you actually like break it down like per quantity to make it even, I would argue games are better than ever, slash around the same. And this goes really in depth. There's a lot of discussions around, you know, how is MTX, how has microtransaction affected games? How has increased monetization affected games? How has, you know, just the ability to make more money in the video game industry affected games? It's been around for longer. Companies have adapted. There's a lot of arguments there and discussion there. But like I said earlier, there's also positives to it, like more indie devs being able to make games than ever, more people having access to internet than ever in the world, more people having access to better hardware and better computers than ever in the world. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are a lot of positives in the world as well. There's a lot of positives when it comes to gaming. There are negatives to talk about and things to critique, as always, and those things shouldn't be ignored. But I do want to push against the maybe I'm just overly optimistic, you know, and naive, right? But I like to push back against the doom and gloom negative narrative. I do think that in general, most things are hopefully improving. We take, you know, probably one step back, 2 steps forward kind of approach. Maybe sometimes 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, and then next year, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, and then next year, 1 step back, 3 steps forward. You know, like it takes time. It's all a balancing act. It is all a pendulum swing. But I like to think that gaming is getting better. And I know that's not a very popular opinion to share on a channel called Retro Pat, but hopefully the message I push on is, yes, we can go back and play amazing. I wouldn't call Dungeon Defenders an old game. I wouldn't call, to be fair, Dungeon Defenders isn't really a retro game. I do consider like the Xbox 360 retro. That's like over 20 years ago at this point. But I don't think I would consider something over 10 years. Like Dungeon Defenders is what? 2011 release date, I believe. So 14 years. I don't think 14 years is quite retro. You could argue 15 years is, but that makes me feel a little bit too old. Everybody has different definitions for this. This is all arbitrary as well. That's a whole different. I mean, we could ramble about that for a whole episode, you know? I always say that personally, I think around 15 to 20 years is arguably retro. Some people say like 30 years is their minimum bar for retro. Like, people just have different perspectives. Some people's bar never changes, you know? Some people who like grew up with like the original NES or original SNES. I played like one at a friend's house a little bit growing up, but I mostly was like a PS1 generation person, I would say. That was around my first console. But people who like grew up in like the 80s would I think there are some people like that, their bars never really move, right? Like if you call a PS2 retro, some people will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's still my DVD player. That's still brand new. You sound insane. And I kind of understand their point, but at the same time, it might be, everybody can have their subjective definitions. But I would argue, let's maybe we push the needle forward a little bit there. Maybe PS2 is retro, boys. I know it hurts to think about, okay? But PS2 was what? It was either 2000 release or 2002. I forget which one. So it's either, I think it's got to be 2000, because the fact that the Xbox 360, it's really insane that the PS2 was 2000 and the 360 was 2005. Like, those feel like, that feels like there should be like a 10 to 20 year gap in those two systems. It's really like those two systems are crazy wild worlds apart in terms of graphical capabilities. I just looked it up. The PS2 was March 4th, 2000. So, I mean, hilariously, I'm recording this. You guys probably won't see this until April, but I am recording this on March 11th, 2025. Not to spoil I do spoil the YouTuber illusion, but I mean, for some people that hurts the video, and I apologize for you if it does. I really think, hopefully it shouldn't. Hopefully we should understand that every time you watch a YouTube video, you're just kind of chilling, hanging out with someone in that time period, listening to their voice. Think of it as in this real, one-on-one sort of experience to some extent. And I don't want that to ruin the illusion for people, but I also don't want to lie to you guys. I also want to be honest. It's a tough bridge to twine. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but I really do. I think one of the most valuable things on YouTube for me is being able to stack up and schedule videos. It's one of the most fun things for me. Usually my Dungeon Defenders schedule, it depends. It depends on what video I'm recording. Something like this is something I would normally just do. Like, I'm recording this, for example, at 11 a.m. So I'm recording the morning before I go live for a stream for my main channel, PokeMMO. But sometimes I will often record Dungeon Defenders on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll just do like, the best case scenario is do like 2 or 3 episodes in one day and then schedule those across the week, like 9 days. And then I can just do that. And then my weekdays are full anyway. So being able to get that done on the weekend is super nice. And then hopefully leave a day to spend time with my wife, instead of just working on videos. But I do love working on videos. So, but I've been spending a lot more time. I could do a whole, there's so many things I could ramble about. I probably should save some topics for future ramble videos, because this will be quite a bit of a series, doing this Master Strategist Challenge, where it's mostly gonna be rambles, fellas. I'm gonna be so honest. There's not a whole lot happening in the game here, but I want to get it done. I want to work towards the personal achievement of the Mastermind. And I've got to prove to you guys that even a Pico-brained, person, even a monkey, can still get the Mastermind achievement. That's very important. All right, in a second here, that should be the final boss, or the final minion defeated. There's wave 6 out of 6. That's already 3 maps. 3 maps done. We should get the... I did misclick my left click once, so hopefully I didn't kill a minion here with that one attack off into the center area. I mean, it's kind of possible I did. Please show me the master. I'm so nervous. Okay. I'm so nervous every time. There is the master. It's really not that much time. It wouldn't be the end of the world to just replay the map, but I get so nervous. Okay, there is the Master Strategist. We will take that all day. And that's probably it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this fun little ramble fest. And if it's not your cup of tea, I apologize, but the next few episodes might be sort of in this same vein. They might be more ramble fests and then just kind of working through the Mastermind achievement than gaining pure progress. We gained pure progress on our Barbarian recently and did some really fun stuff with that. I really enjoyed that. I was so thrilled and had so much fun playing Dungeon Defenders doing that. But I think it's time for some personal achievement now. So I'm going to keep working on this. Like the video if you guys liked it. It helps me tremendously. Dislike if you didn't. That's always okay and encouraged. Subscribe to the channel for Dungeon Defenders videos every 3 days. And that's it for now. I will see you guys later. Peace, Reno. Defend your dungeons. Hey, what's up? Retro Pat here, and I want to say a quick big thank you to everybody whose name is listed here because it means you went above and beyond and supported me via the Patreon, which allows me to put more time, effort, and resources into this channel. Thank you so much, and have a great day.